very progressive, way before the times. Many people did not understand him, unfortunately, but that's what it is. We can't help it now. He has a legacy himself. He left behind. He has mentored several administrative officers which are scattered all over India and also all over the world also. Because I met somebody in Canada who was his student and also his grandstudent, his son also was there. So like that. But unfortunately I don't know many of them. But I take this opportunity here today to invite Mrs. Lakshmi Bharati to come and share her impressions or her thoughts about anything she would like to. Please, Lakshmi Garu.
To all the dignitaries today who have graced this occasion, I thank the organizers for having thought of me to share my memories of Dr. Rau. Not that I have many of them, but the very few that I have, I really cherish them. I was a student from Osmania University, and after my post-graduation, I had this urge of writing the civil services. And those days, the only name you could hear was Dr. Rau and Dr. Rau's Institute at Hyderabad, at Delhi. And for me, it was not possible for me to go to Delhi. So, and there were not so many institutes in Hyderabad in those days where we could get coached or at least some kind of orientation towards writing the civil services exam. And this was the first time that the pattern had changed from prelims to mains to the final interview. So I joined the Hyderabad Study Circle because one day my father very happily showed me a nice paper advertisement which says that Dr. Rau is now coming to Hyderabad. You could see that my joy knew no bounds. I said, now finally, I'll be able to cherish my dream. And Hyderabad Study Circle had opened at Hyderabad, which was quite close to my father's residence. And having joined there, every day I used to be very hopeful that Dr. Rau would come and we would be under his immediate guidance. But then I found that he used to concentrate mostly in Delhi, and only after we finished the prelims and we had almost cleared, we were about to write the mains exam or a little after the mains exam, I don't recall now, but there was a place called Hotel Nagarjuna in Bashirabad, and Dr. Rau had come to give a series of lectures there from Delhi, and we were all in awe because we had heard so much about him. I know my maternal uncle, he had written the exam and he would tell me a lot of stories of Dr. Rau and how he had this capacity to pick up. From thousands of students, he knew exactly who had which spark for what kind of a orientation. So that was my first glimpse of Dr. Rau, and I was quite scared because there were so many people who were so bold, so brave. They were asking him series of questions, and then some of them he was very curt, some of them he was absolutely would laugh. Incidentally, he was a very charming person and he had a very, very charming smile, and we all fell for it because we felt so comfortable, After having seen this side of him, we said this would be wonderful. And then after I had cleared the mains and I had to go for my interview to Delhi, and Hyderabad Study Circle had organized an interview for me, a mock interview with Dr. Rau in Delhi. I went with trepidation. I was quite scared because till then I really didn't speak to the big man. And this is the first time maybe I would get an opportunity to see him from very close angles and then speak to him. And I found that he put me so much at ease. All my fears just vanished the minute I was there in front of the mock interview board. And then he asked me very simple questions. He said, concentrate on your hobbies, concentrate on, so I told him that pets were my hobby, reading books was my hobby, music was my hobby. So he said, be ready. They could ask you any kind of critical questions about it. But he said, be yourself and don't lie. Just be yourself. And in case you don't know the answer, this is what we are all telling a lot of students now. But this was for the first time we were told at that point. He said, don't ever lie, because no member of the board likes that. They will easily be able to know. Just tell them that you are not aware. And the day came and my interview was over. And before the interview, then after the interview, I had to come and meet Dr. Rau in Delhi. He had a special institute there, and there he said, now how did it go? So I explained. I said, sir, this is what happened. Most of the members were very friendly and they really made me feel at ease, except two members. One member was able to answer, but the second member, she was a lady member, a tribal member, went on asking about political interference. Now here I am born and brought up in Hyderabad. I really didn't know a thing about what is political interference or how you deal with the politicians. But she was saying, what will you do? This MLA will stop you from doing this. Then I tried to explain with my meager, limited knowledge, and it went on and on for almost 10-15 minutes. I said, Mera to interview gaya. I need not even think of getting into any service. And then suddenly I remembered, there was an interview which was printed from Hyderabad Study Circle about a young lady, IFS, she got selected into the IFS just a year before. I think her name was Deepa. She was also sort of cornered, and then finally she just said, sir, you said something? And she finally, I believe, when she was cornered like this for a very long time, she said, I will cross the bridge when I come to it. Somehow that flashed into my mind at that moment, and I said, ma'am, I think I'll cross the bridge when I come to it. And suddenly I found the whole atmosphere in the interview. It was quite, everyone was feeling the tension. Everyone started laughing. And then I knew, I had also relaxed, all the members had relaxed, and then I thought, this interview, I may not feel too bad. And this is what I told Dr. Rau, and he started guffawing and laughing to his heart's content. He said, very good, I'm sure you've done a wonderful job. And he even predicted how many marks I would get in the interview based on this. And much later, I think by end of that month or the next month, we went back and my results came and I was selected. And then I called him up because he had come to Hyderabad. He said, I'm coming home for a cup of coffee. So my mother is very good at making good filter coffee. So she said, I'm ready with everything. And he came over that evening. I can never forget that gesture, sir. Someone, whom we really revered so much, he took time off and he came. So many of us had made it. I'm sure he didn't have the time to come and spend a whole evening. And I didn't have the courage to say, sir, please stay back for a meal. But that he had come for coffee and he had some homemade goodies was more than enough. But he spoke for hours at length, and my father apparently also studied in Rajahmundry, and Dr. Rau also had studied in Rajahmundry, so they had a lot of things in common. But he said, I said, sir, what is the advice you give me in the service? He said, don't ever let power get into your head. Always remember your roots and just be what you are. And whatever you can do, whatever is in your hands is a God-sent opportunity. And whatever you can do, even if it's inconvenient, even if people call you up at 12 in the night, don't have these artificial shackles and just be ready for anything. I try to follow it as much as possible, and I think his advice was wonderful. And later, much later, after about 10 or 12 years into the service, I managed to call on him in Delhi, and he was still the same, no change at all, and as charming as ever, as good looking as ever. And after that, he asked me a lot about what actually is political interference. So then I did have something solid to tell him, which I did not at the time of my interview. And he said, but how are you managing it? I said, sir, you can manage to some extent, but not beyond, unless you sell yourself. And at that point, it's better that you give the message and you are not there and you leave, or you just succumb, which is not something you can do, because you can't sleep in the night if you do things like that. And it's always comfortable to be out of a job than to be in a job and go with this kind of a guilt. He was very happy, and I think that's the last time I saw him. After that, I thought I would call on him many times, but somehow never happened. And I know that when he passed away, Mrs. Ratnaprabha, she was also, we had written the exams together, though she got into it next year with Bhaskar. She was telling me, Lakshmi, come here, I believe. Then I said, okay, I'm in Vijayawada, I'm not able to make it. But that is how it ended, and that was my remembrance of Dr. Rau. I always remember him. In fact, when both my sons were writing the civils, I said, you are going to miss somebody like him. We were very lucky that we had someone like that to guide us. And I do not know how you will go through it. I'm sure you will. You're all IITians and you're all MBAs and all that. We are from, with an MA in economics from Usmania University. But I always told them that this is how it used to be. And we had a wonderful time there. And I just thought, in a career, this is all I can say about Dr. Rau, and that today you still have such, distinguished people who remember him and who have come here today to pay the respects for his. I think it's wonderful, and I really congratulate his younger brother. You say you don't know much about him, sir, but the fact that you are organizing this kind of a wonderful meet and you hear so much about him, I'm sure you know much. Mostly family members never know much about their own members. It's only the outsiders who will tell you more about them. I thought today I'll share a very lovely incident which happened in my career. Very interesting. I was sub-collector of Penukonda. This was in 83, beginning of 83, when Mrs. Indira Gandhi was the Prime Minister. And she happened to come to about 4 or 5 places in my subdivision. She had already covered by then Hindupur. She had gone to some other place and she was at Gorantla. At Gorantla, from there she was to go to Kadri. Now Mr. Vijay Ramarao, later he was a minister. He was then, I think, IT intelligence, if I'm not mistaken. He was there, and then and Mrs. Gandhi, it's so difficult to keep pace with her because from the helicopter to the stage, everyone was running. And Mr. Vijay Reddy was the Chief Minister. And they were sort of, gasping for breath and running, and she was sort of literally running. Her walk is like a run. And Mr. Vijay Ramarao suddenly toppled over a stone, and that injury continued as long as he lived, continued. That kind of an injury where his finger got, his foot got martapadinanta chusara, ala ayipoyindi. It was an acute pain. I didn't know what to do. The Prime Minister was running off in the front. So I had a huge handkerchief. I put it in some water and I tied it tightly around his foot. And I said, sir, you take your own time, I'm running. Then what happens is, Mr. Vijay Reddy near the stage, we were all hiding behind the stage. He said, no, Mrs. Gandhi, Prime Minister garu poddu nunchi emi teeskoledu. She wants to have fresh filter coffee. You organize it in Kadri. From Gorantla to Kadri is at least an hour, at least 40-45 minutes drive. I said, okay sir. And we had no cell phones or anything, but through wireless and giving filter coffee, in a place like Kadri, it's a small town and not many people really go in for that. But somehow we were able to catch some nice people, and the Tehsildar was very, very, as usual. These Tehsildars and these, Deputy Tehsildars are too good. You should actually give them Oscars for anything. And this fellow managed. I told him, I don't know what you do, Kesharao, but we want filter coffee with a lovely, teapot and all that. And then I ran. My driver drove like wind, and I was there. And by the time she landed at Kadri, she had come to the guest house. My filter coffee was ready. That's all I was looking at. And then I find Mrs. Gandhi. There were only 2 rooms in the R&B guest house. In one suite, Mrs. Gandhi was ushered in, and the other one, Mr. Vijay Reddy was waiting. You should see a chief minister waiting. He was sort of saying, Amma, Miralandi, you go inside, because I was a lady officer. I was permitted to go. So I knocked and I went, and I was quite scared. My first posting, and then I am right in front of a Prime Minister. I didn't know what to say and how to get on, what kind of conversation I could have with her. I went in and she looked at me and smiled, and what a beautiful smile she had. She said, "Come, who are you?" I said, "I'm the sub-collector here. I've been sent to take care of you." She said, "Can I have some coffee?" And she was sort of, brushing off all those marigold petals on her. She's very allergic to them, she was saying. So I trooped and stormed towards that, where they kept the teapot and the coffee and all. And I must have been a little, rustled, because she was looking at me from a distance. She was watching me, and she came very close and she was next to me and she said, "Shall I make coffee for both of us?" I was amazed. I said, "Prime Minister's orders." So I just, stepped aside and said, "Yes, ma'am, it's our pleasure." She made coffee so daintily, I tell you. She knew exactly how much to put. Then she asked me how much of sugar. I said 1 spoon. She didn't have sugar. And then she stirred my cup and she gave it to me, and she took her own cup, and there was a rickety old sofa there, and she said, "Come, let's sit down and talk." And I was saying, "Just wait, let all my batchmates see me here. Here I'm sitting with the Prime Minister, and what fun, I wish people could see me," and all. My mind was only thinking of that. Then we had coffee. Then she said, "What's your name?" I said, "Lakshmi Parthasarathi." She said, "You must be feeling very homesick here." I said, "No, this is my state." "But your name denotes..." I said, "No, that's because my father was named." I gave her the whole history of how my father was named. Then she said, "But then you stay alone, you are not married." I said, "No, I'm not married, but then I have enough work to keep me busy, so I enjoy my work." Then she said, "I have seen you somewhere." I'm not joking, this is what the Prime Minister told me. So I was full of beans already by then. I said, "Yes, ma'am, you had come, I had just come from Mussoorie 6 months back, my first posting." So she had actually come to Mussoorie while we were in our phase 2 training. And I remember she had come wearing a beautiful skirt and a lovely long kind of a kurta. And she was looking so beautiful then, and she had come to the academy, and all of us were made to sit with her. Again, being a lady probationer, along with another couple of lady probationers, we were permitted to sit next to her. And that was a time when the academy was being shifted to Delhi. We had a director called Dr. Puri, Mr. Puri, who some of the people from UP and Delhi were saying that why have this academy on the hills? It is too remote and we are not able to go home and things like that. We would like it to be in Delhi. So taking it as a popular opinion, he already sent proposals, and the Prime Minister's office or whatever, they had already accepted. So then she said, "How are you? How are you enjoying yourself?" and all that. She was asking everybody. Suddenly this bright idea occurred to me. I said, "Madam Prime Minister, I believe this academy is getting shifted, and we are very sad that this academy is getting shifted from Mussoorie, because for those of us who come from South India, this is a beautiful hill station. We get to see the Himalayas every day in the morning and all the lovely forests." And I stopped, and then all the others took over after that. Then she looked surprised. She said, "We are a family of nature lovers, and every year I try to spend time in the mountains. We are not the ones who would have ever taken the academy away from the mountains. It's your own director here who said this is the popular opinion." The poor director, I don't think he ever had a more embarrassing moment than that. And then he said, no, something. Then she asked, she said, "Do you all of you want to go or not want to go?" So all of us in chorus said, "No, we want the academy to be here." She said, "Let it be." And she called somebody and she said, "Cancel those orders and see that the academy continues here." So we were so triumphant, and we gave her really heartfelt, not hugs but smiles, and we said, "Thank you, Madam Prime Minister, it's so nice." This she remembered in Kadri when I was there, so I quickly told her that. She said, "Yeah, you did a good thing, otherwise the academy would have got shifted. I think people in future should remember you as the person who has kept the academy here." And and afterwards she said, "Can you call my personal doctor, my personal physician?" So I ran out and called Dr. Mathur, And then I knew it was time for me to go out. And very mischievously, when I went to the door, those guest houses have huge doors, she looked at me, she said, Lakshmi, now you can tell your Chief Minister that he can have his coffee. And I came and I met Mr. Vijay Bhaskar Reddy. Amma, Dhagera. Sir, Madam Prime Minister had a coffee and she wishes that you can also have your coffee. I told him that, and I was feeling quite thrilled. Afterwards, my role was over because she had coffee and then she left for Anantapur. But this was something which I never forget and I always remember. And in this same HRD Institute, I must have told it to so many of my students from foundation course, because I never thought a Prime Minister could be, so very unassuming and make me feel at ease and remember me. A Prime Minister remembering a single probationer was something phenomenal. That goes on to show what kind of strength and what kind of character this great Prime Minister had. I thought I would just share with you, and thank you once again for thinking of me for this wonderful occasion. Thank you.
Lakshmi Garu, thank you very much for a wonderful insight into Dr. Rao and also your experience. Now we are talking about your academy at Missouri. I tell you, share a small thing. I was there last December. They invited me to speak to young IAS officers about healthcare and education. When I was there, I was so surprised because I heard about Missouri for so many days. I really excited to go there, but after going there, I noticed even now today it is so isolated. There is hardly any good road, no transportation. Then I thought, okay, maybe that's why the IAS officers are so good here. They have no other navigation except with the academy. But that's a wonderful experience for me to go there and share our experiences with them and all that. You brought memory back to me. I'm very glad to hear that. So now, after Lakshmi Garu, the one thing I want to ask, if somebody else want to share any of their opinions or interesting incidents or anything they feel like. There is no specific agenda here. You are free to come and talk anything.
Distinguished guests, Sankurathri Chandrasekhar, Lakshmi Patsati ma'am, and all guests here. I don't know if it's a pleasure actually standing here and talking, but it's certainly very happy memories I carry whenever I think of Dr. Rao. First, very unusual name, R-A-U. We used to wonder whether he's a North Indian or a Punjabi or a South Indian. We used to be confused. Apparently it's 1953 when the institute was started. So there's generations of civil servants who have passed through the portals of 11 Haley Road. And I also found myself moving towards Haley Road, and as I said, I come from a family of 1 or 2 civil servants, so since school days I wanted to get into civil services. So it was a natural movement towards Rao Study Circle, and that's where I went as I was completing my MA Political Science and International Relations in Central University. I think I did share last time about the process of getting trained by Dr. Rao. There's a lot of scripts that you have to write, a lot of questions he used to give, and over the weekend he used to correct them, and he used to give back the scripts to us with a lot of red slashes and underlining and things like that. So as I shared last time, I thought I was a fairly good writer, and I did get university medals, so I was very happy, and I thought maybe I can impress Dr. Rao more. As the months passed on in coaching, there were a lot of slashes and underlinings, and my confidence was totally down. I knew probably civil services is not my cup of tea. I can't really get through with this kind of feedback that I was getting from Dr. Rao. But at the same time, he used to build our confidence, and it was a very engaging and very thought-provoking kind of a training we had in Rao's IAS Study Circle. I don't think that kind of intellectual stimulation really had so much earlier. He used to treat us as officers, and he used to also expect us to behave like officers as though we're already in service. and he used to tell so many interesting anecdotes. His interview coaching was entirely different experience. I remember how, he used to tell us, they will ask you uncomfortable questions, like ma'am was just mentioning about, and how you handle it. They are not expecting you to tell brilliant answers, but how you handle them. And I remember that day one guy came with the name Pamulu, and in the coaching, and sir asked, what do you call a snake god or something? And obviously Pamulu was hassled, and he just told him, you have to tell the actual truth why you got a name like that. And he explained how 3 of his siblings passed away before him, and his parents had to give a very unusual name, and that's how he got it. Similarly, there was a guy from Tamil Nadu called Chinnathambi. Why Chinnathambi? So, and then comes in a very fat guy. I still laugh whenever I see this. The first question sir asked was, why do fat people laugh so much? So this guy kind of froze in his seat, and sir actually said that's because they don't want others to laugh at them. They just laugh at every joke. And that kind of eased him, and he actually told, just in case they ask you, be very cool about giving your answer. So from how do you tie your tie to how do you wear your shirt or coat to how polished your shoes must be to how well you have to wear your, be well dressed to be an officer. Every single aspect, not just the answers you would give, and but he always told the point in answer, be honest. If you don't know, say you don't know. And don't try to fudge or say something. They're very helpful. The interview board is very helpful. And so it was a very, I would say, a very eye-opening experience conversing with Dr. Rau, always. He would ask something and he would ask you to think from different perspectives and argue from different angles. So it does really open up your mind, and you will actually think of how to examine a situation or how to understand an issue from different angles and different perspectives. So for me, that was very enriching. And another thing which ma'am also was mentioning about is why are you getting into civil services? What's your interest? If you're not wanting to do some social impact or be part of a solution at scale, don't get into civil services. That was very clear. And at some point, we start thinking about what are the solutions for the kind of complex issues that India is facing. That's part of coaching as well as thinking. I think I did share last time also, like sir somehow never ever mentioned many of his students, and by then I was his student in 85 to 86, those 2 years, and by then I think it was already some 33 years old study circle, which means already almost somebody must be on the verge of retiring. But I don't ever recall Dr. Rau mentioning so-and-so secretary I know or so-and-so chief secretary I know. I don't remember ever. In fact, if there's anything, he used to kind of disparagingly say something. Who's this fellow not doing much work? Or sometimes you think that that's a word he used to use quite often. But sometimes you say, yeah, that's the kind of brilliant work I expect. That officer or that secretary in world development is doing brilliant work. That's the kind of comment sometimes he used to make. And then you know, yeah, you have to watch out for this officer. Maybe there's something to learn from there. So, and he was not at all enamored by power, nor money, nor position, nothing. We obviously all students come from different backgrounds, kind of treated us all equally. And as you spend more time with him, because we were long term, so about 4 or 5 of us actually spent a lot of time with him. We saw the personal side of Dr. Rau. Normally he doesn't talk much personal stuff. He used to say something amusing, something sarcastic, something funny, but something charming. But always great conversations, you see. Or sometimes you used to find quietly, sort of not in a very communicative mode, but very wry comments used to make, and we all used to laugh quite often in his class. So I kept meeting him even after I had left study circle, and I very fondly remember having visited your hospital in Kakinada, Swethambari. Used to meet Hema auntie quite often in Raj Bhavan study circle, and in fact we met even after he shifted to Upper Junction. As last time I was mentioning, like the T.S. Eliot poem, which says, "After aeons of going all over, you come back to where you started." For me, that's how the study circle in up near Upper Junction is. I live very close by, barely 4-5 minutes away, and I always remember. I see still the name board; it's still there. IAS is still there, and it always brings back sir to my mind. I feel once again inspired. Someone who actually had it all, and he said, "Let it go. I'm not really interested," and never allowed the sense of power or the sense of influence that he had ever get him. And I think that's something that we've always cherished. He reinforced my values very strongly for public good and for doing the best that I could, whichever assignment I had. And I think I always cherished that, and I remember that, and I always carried that during my career time. That's it, I think. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. I really thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chandrasekhar Garu. Thank you, Mrs. Lakshmi Pasarthi, for such a wonderful revelation you gave us about Indira Gandhi. We always were in awe of Indira Gandhi because she was a really powerful lady. And now we see other sides of her, how she can be so, quirky and still make people smile. That's a good thing. But let me get back to why I'm here in the first place. Dr. Rao is also my uncle. I have been his student for, I think, approximately about a year or so, off and on. So I know, I have also seen him in the same way as a student sees a teacher in the classroom. And the first and foremost thing that I always felt was that there is so much clarity in every word that he spoke. And then it is not just clarity, and then you cannot afford to let your mind waver. It has to be concentrated on what he is trying to teach you. If you miss out 1 minute of what he says, it is gone out of your head completely. And then you lose, the trail of thought. So I remember when we first got into the classroom in Delhi, there were about, I think, 22 people or so. And 22 people, out of them, I became very friendly with about 10 or 12 of them. And later on, they, revealed to me that for us, getting into the Rao's class was half the battle. They felt, they used to feel that, "Arey, yeah, you mil gaya idhar. I've got admission here, so I'm done." I said, "You are only starting your study now. You have to write the exam." But most of them felt that, that was half the battle. And then he would hold regular classes, and suddenly one day he will call the students and say, "Hey guys, come back at 5:30 in the evening." And people would go back and come back at 5:30, and 5:30 it wouldn't be the classroom setting. It would be all the chairs that put in the open area in that room, and he would not sit. He would be walking around, and believe me, he would be talking for at least 2 or 2.5 hours non-stop. We could never record such talks, but today they are priceless, those talks. But that is something which I have experienced and I have really benefited from, because apart from that was not at all the curriculum that he was expected to teach us. It was something about how to manage your entire life. That is one thing which I don't know how many of his students still remember. And then the time when we were studying, that was the time when students would come back, as you said, from the interview thing. He hated it being called mock interview. He said, it's not a mock interview. What is it? What is it, sir? It's a trial run. He would say, this is a trial run. Then he would have trial runs. And the best part of his trial runs were that he would be sitting there. I mean, he would rip apart the candidate totally. He would have a couple of others who were qualified for the interview sitting with him. And they were made to ask him questions. So that made it so much more interesting that, I mean, we all know that the best way of learning is teaching is the best way. If you start teaching, you learn yourself. So that time he would call the candidate for the interview, and then he would tell all the people who are sitting there, I'm going to ask him questions. I remember there's somebody who came with a physics, MSc physics from IIT. He told him, they will ask you about metaphysics. First question was that. The first question was that. I knew that, I mean, his analysis of the interview and what questions would be asked was flawless almost. It was 80% of the questions would be the same. We are our own Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan. He qualified. He was the first doctor to become an IAS officer. And then he came to Pandana, and then he gave him a trial run. He said, they'll ask you about this. For this, the answer is this, the answer is this. He gave him all the answers. And Jayaprakash went for the interview, came back. What happened? Sir, same question, sir, he said. Same question, sir. And he said, okay, write it down. Jayaprakash wrote down the entire interview. Everybody had to write it. So they wrote this thing verbatim. And then he said, see, Jayaprakash I think got 80% in the interview. That is how he used to. And then I also knew him when I was a school going, I don't know what, boy in Delhi. That time they used to have, he was running a study circle from Parasites. That's a hotel in Connaught Place. And the first place in Delhi. And that Parasites Hotel was such an iconic place it was. The room was but very small, maybe 10 by 10 or something like that, and cramped with chairs and one big table. He would be sitting there, and if more students came, they would spill out, you open the door and then they'll be sitting near the door, some people out in the corridor, some people in the door which leads to the toilet. The toilet was dysfunctional, it was a library for him. So they would be sitting here and there, and then one look ahead, I said, my God, this is how classes are held here. I was only in class 8 or 9. And then there he used to introduce me to some of his students there. There was, I think, the president, Dr. Giri's grandson, he introduced me to him, and then he said, see, this fellow is my nephew. He's studying this, he's not studying this, he's studying this. He would tell him everything. Then that Giri told him, you must do very well. That's very important now. That's the foundation of your studies. Of course, that went down a different pipeline. And otherwise, Dr. Rau, as a person, as you said, that he is enigmatic. Yes, he is enigmatic. There's no way about it that he is an open book or anything. You never knew what was coming next. That was the most, scary part. I don't know how he'll react. You give a paper, you write one paper, give it to him, and then, kya bolenge. One day I remember 4 or 5 of us were sitting, and I went down to another room. I was also giving classes in sociology along with studying and preparing for the exam. So I came back, and before going, I had written, he would give us one question a day and said, okay, write. And we would write the answer and give it to him. I came back, I was looking mirror, answer kya hua, kya hua, kya hua. Then he said, so you wrote this answer? I said, yes, I wrote it. It's okay. I mean, if he says it's okay, that means I can jump to the sky, literally. It's okay, but one mistake you made here, but otherwise it's okay. Then other people afterwards, your answer was very great, good. So that was the kind of thing that we used to wait for. Impromptu, I am not able to remember most of the funny incidents that we used to have. But I remember at that time when Indira Gandhi was Prime Minister, he said, where do you listen to your news? So everybody said, radio. So, oh, you listen to All Indira Radio. Okay, that's good, he said. So, I mean, many people would get a shock. Oh my God, oh yes, this is what it is. It's the same thing even today. I should. Let me try to note down, because I remember we used to write notes, and in the margin we used to write those funny comments and those other things that he used to say, we used to write in the margin and keep it, because the notes are gone. But if I keep recollecting one class after the other, we'll get a lot of... So anyway, that's... thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. And as much as I would love to have remembered more and gone on, but that's for the next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Naren, for sharing such wonderful memories of your life, early life, and life with Dr. Rao. And unfortunately, I haven't experienced any of those things like you guys did. I'm happy to hear through all of you here. I'm really thrilled to hear those things. Only thing I feel bad is we shouldn't have recorded these things. That's what I'm thinking now. Sweta, last time we recorded, but we didn't record this time, right? Recording? Oh, wonderful. Because these things we never hear again, Everybody has their own special memories and all. That's wonderful. Thank you, Naren, again.
Thank you all for coming. It's such a lovable occasion that I wouldn't venture to speak, because before such well-learned, experienced senior students of Dr. Rao, there is an affection that is seen in each of you. Ma'am, you made me feel at ease. I'm a person I challenge that I will never come onto stage. From being a child of my parents who were students of Dr. Rao, and then siblings of my parents who were also trained by Dr. Rao, I humbly accept the fact that probably I was trained from my mother's womb by Dr. Rao. She, everything from today, if it was Pygmalion or whatever it is, for me it was Dr. Rao. From shaping the kind of frock I used to wear as a child, Sir would have such nuances. In fact, Murli Baba said, Nari Shakti, yes. Sir is an enigmatic person to men, but never to his girl students. He had a lot of affection for any girl, be it whatever age it was. Sir used to take minute care and concern to guide a woman. What was she wearing? What was she talking? How was she carrying herself? And he had a knack of, picking up what was our non-confident. Because we women, we are emotional. No matter how much our head tells us, we are emotional, and we tend to, get a little carried away by diffidence or fear. And he knew that. He caught it. Practically today, society is talking of alpha males and all. Sir was everything those days. With society without this internet and social media, if he was alive today, he would have been a hit. There's no doubt. Ma'am, you will vouch for that. He used to, you just have to walk into a room, he'll know which was your weak point. And he would make you a person to weaken your weakness and strengthen your strengths. That was what we were after we came out. He used to guide us what was the color we were supposed to wear, what was the kind of material you wear, not just for the interview, but literally our nerves were, trimmed by him. And humor was his special. Nobody can be, there's no other Dr. Rao. I remember being grounded was something that I first experienced in life. Those ages, teenage, you're in college and all. You get a little, And I was saying, so somehow it came, there was a name, the typical name called Mohan in Telugu states. Mohan is a name that has the maximum prefix and suffix. Ram Mohan, Krishna Mohan, everything. And I was very little, that day I was in one of my, probably a little hormonal more. Sir, I narrated around 20 Mohans. So he listened to everything. I said, okay, like Renanna just said, your question paper is getting a good remark. I was feeling very great. And he comes in, is there a Hanuman Mohan? And he walked out. Bang. I didn't rise after. For the next 1 week, I was in the last bench. That was him. And then, whether it was a student going for her interview or whether it was Bipasha, his domestic maid, he would give me instructions how to buy a sari for Bipasha. So, last year, Bipasha had this color, so this year, you will not repeat the color. I mean, I was surprised because I was with Dr. Rao day and I was... Please don't take it in the wrong way, but I've smoked more 555 and Dunhill than any man in the world. My brand is that. I can't settle for normal cigarettes because right under his nose, Statesman paper, it used to come at 11:30. College, I never had my lunch hour in St. Francis Begumpet. The MCDR, my father used that one for me. The MCDR's duty was to pick up Statesman from a particular news shop in Paradise, bring it to college, and I would write the précis of the third editorial alone. No, never the first and second. Third editorial, write it from Kundanbag to Renuka Enclave. Invariably go and be called howler and thrown out. So I've never had my thing. Sir's favorite word was howler, and that's it. So my lunch, 3 years of my degree, my lunch break was in Renuka Enclave only, because I used to write the thing précis. And like Narenana said, and he had that excellent way of writing in the margin. And that was Hanuman. Bipasha was one thing, and his dogs, Mark and Cleo, the MS Ramarao Sundarakandam and Ghantasala's Bhagavad Gita. Sir, every evening, 7 o'clock was the time. If you're called from your room, it's your Harakiri. That's it. It was his first peg of the Scotch, and that's it. You're called for the first means it's doomed. That's it. Your week is over. You will be having, if it's Mozart, he's in high peak. That's it. You're going. Even Cleo will shiver because is this the précis you write? But if it is Ghantasala's Bhagavad Gita, you've made a mediocre thing. But if it was MS Ramarao Sundarakanda, that's it. You're having. And if he would scold a girl and sing the next day morning, sir would make it a point that there's a special dish cooked in the mess. And he would make us his schedule. Why I'm speaking is because we were the first batch under Dr. Rao in Piramcheru. So Saturdays and Sundays were the bathroom washing days. So we were made to wash the bathrooms, the common bathrooms. And he used to come and say, vitamin B tablets used to come. Or something. He used to catch the plumber bringing in fallen hair from the bathroom. So the girls are losing hair. So sir would make sure. So none of us, parents also wouldn't make a note of it. So sir would say, this one, the hair, he said, which bathroom is having maximum hair? So that bathroom, B and B12. This vitamin C and D. This is what he used to take care of the girls in the hostel. And the menu would come from him. And particular days which used to be, the students had to cook. So practically, if sir would have lived some more time, ma'am, all of you are well lucky in Masuri and all that. He literally made us live like Masuri without clearing the exam and all. So today, whatever we speak or whatever we carry forward, it's Dr. Rao in our nerves. And he would say, your dress shouldn't walk before you. Sometimes he would say, everything, these are all small things. And the only thing that I can share today is, this is the second year we are having these sharings of things. And Murli Baba will feel happy that one of our audience, Khaja, is penning down all these things to make a small little biopic on Dr. Rao. Yes, ma'am. So, Khaja will be meeting each of y'all, and please spread the word so that today we've heard such wonderful things. This is what the next generation should know. Today they don't know what a Madam Prime Minister is. Then unfortunately, they have so much of social media access, but they don't know what is the real flavor of bureaucracy and. So please help us to pen down as many memories of Dr. Rao so that even if this function is conducted on March 10th and again May 27th, the coming generations will know what is Dr. Rao. Pandu is a person, just one girl who knows Dr. Rao because she's coming to sing the prayers now. Tomorrow we want her school to know who Dr. Rao is and what he is. So that is the reason. I hope I haven't been so erudite as all of you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Swetha, for opening your mouth for the first time. Actually, I should thank her because she was the one inspiration and made momentum to see this happening, because I was in Kakinada. She took the initiative even last year and this year, even though she is not physically here till yesterday morning, but she somehow managed these things. We need people like her who takes initiative and get this going. And next year, Dr. Rao's 100th birthday. So we really want to bring all the people across the country, not only Andhra Pradesh. There are few people. Please help me to give contacts of those people if you know anybody. I already have some names in my mind. We want to have a big event where people come and give specialty lectures on their fields. So I hope we'll see you all there. And not only that, I hope there'll be many more people. And we plan much in advance, Swetha. I think at least 2 to 3 months time we should give to people so that they can plan to be here. And we want to do the honor of So thank you all for coming here and sharing your memories, and especially educating me about my own brother. There are many things I don't know, and especially Naren. He never told me about all these things. Now I'm glad to hear through him also. Everyone has a different experience. That's what makes it rich to share those things here. I hope we'll do share before next year and put in a small sort of a volume book. As Swetha said, for posterity. Somebody would like to know, they're welcome to read it. Unless we do it, he will be gone in the memory. That's what my wish is, to do something about that. Thank you all once again. Thank you.